Oh, the 1970s. From the bass pumping sounds on the disco floor, from the anarchy inside a mosh pit at punk rock concerts, the 70s had it all. But who was the greatest band of the 70s? Was it Zeppelin, Kiss, The Who, Pink Floyd? We'll stick around and find out on today's episode of Kiss and Tell. Hi, welcome to a new episode of Kiss and Tell podcast. Today we're going to settle the debate of who's the greatest band of the 1970s. This includes every genre: disco, R&B, funk, rock, heavy metal. We're going to throw them all together and we're going to see who comes out the victor. So do me a favor, if you're a rocker like me, smash the subscribe button and don't forget to check us out on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And our first matchup is the funk group led by Lionel Richie, the Commodores, versus Blue Oyster Cult. And we'll start with Frank, go to Tommy, and then Mike.
All right, this is a good one because I love Blue Oyster Cult, and you got iconic songs that you hear them everywhere now. But the Commodores, man, that was music. Lionel Richie, Sail On, so many good songs that they come up with. I'm gonna have to go Commodores.
So we got a vote right out of the gates for the funk band Commodores. Tommy, well, you're up.
Oh, I'm not even going to show any love to Blue Oyster Cult. Commodores all the way.
All right. Tommy's sailing on with Lionel Richie and the boys. Okay, Mike.
I concur. I'm going with the Commodores because they were just awesome. I mean, Lionel Richie is awesome, and with the Commodores, and then, I know he left the Commodores, but when they were together, it's easy like Sunday morning.
All right. That's 3 votes. I'm going to make it a sweep because Easy Like Sunday Morning is one of my favorite songs of all time. The Commodores will advance to the next round.
Yeah, don't forget about Rick Out.
She's mighty, mighty.
Letting it all hang out.
All right. Now, remember, this is only for the decade of the 70s. It's not for their entire careers. Van Halen versus Styx.
We're still in the same order?
That's fine with me.
All right, man. Well, I hate to yammer on because Tommy just was right. Get to the point, damn it. So I have to go Styx because Van Halen, love Van Halen, but it's the 70s. Their first studio album was so late in the 70s. And, granted, it was great album, 2 great albums in the late 70s. But Styx, I think they had the better upper hand as far as being a better band in the 70s.
Okay, Tommy?
Styx, they had a lot of good music. They tried to go opera there, it seemed like. But I don't know what was going on with that. But I love Van Halen, but most of their good stuff was in the 80s. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and go Styx.
All right, Mike Watts.
It's hard to say. When I was in 6th grade, I remember them playing Styx a lot when we was at the skating rink, more than Van Halen. It seemed like they were, popular. I know Van Halen's popular, but I hate to go against everyone on this. I think everybody's right. I think Styx was the better group in the 70s. So I concur.
All right.
Styx.
So Styx is going to advance no matter my take. Van Halen's debut album is arguably the greatest debut album in rock/heavy metal history. You can really make an argument for that. Having said that, Styx was very proggy when they first came out, and they put out some great music like Fooling Yourself, Renegade, Come Sail Away, Lady. Just some great, great tunes in the 70s. And I think just for the 70s, I'm going to go Styx with a little edge over Van Halen. So Styx will advance.
That's not saying they were a better band, but Van Halen's first album wasn't until, 78, 79?
78.
78,
yeah.
No, if we're talking totality, yeah, it's Van Halen. Representing punk rock, we have the Ramones. And representing disco or the Bee Gees? So Bee Gees versus the Ramones.
And that is polar opposite there. I mean, Ramones and the Bee Gees. I mean, you look at who had so many songs and this huge popularity. It was the Bee Gees. You know, they were on top of the 70s. They were iconic for the 70s for that style of music. Ramones, definitely way more underground. The beginnings of the punk scene and the rebelliousness. But I'll go Ramones on this one because Bee Gees, lots of songs, better band as far as the music, and this is definitely biased on my end, but Ramones.
All right, so we got to vote for Joey Ramone and the boys.
Well, I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to go Bee Gees. Like I told you, they were on my Disco Duck album. I was like 6 years old.
So you going Bee Gees, Tommy?
Yeah, I'm going to go Bee Gees. The Ramones, they were okay. I think the Bee Gees had way more hits, and they were probably the most popular, of the two, So, yeah, I'll go Bee Gees.
I see Mike checking his notes. I like that, Mike Watts.
Yeah, I'm scratching them off. People getting scratched off here. Bands are getting scratched off. What we got? Van Halen scratched off, Blue Oyster Cult. So the Ramones, I didn't follow them at all. Oh, and Chris, from being in high school with me, that I loved the Bee Gees. I mean, I absolutely loved them. And then I loved the John Travolta movie, and how they had the Bee Gees all in the background in the movie the whole time. I just loved the bell bottoms and the fly collars and the Bee Gees scene. I like their music. I really love their music. I'm going with the Bee Gees.
All right, so we got 2 votes for the Bee Gees, 1 vote for the Ramones. The Ramones, along with the Sex Pistols, are regarded as the founding fathers of punk rock. Started out in the mid-70s. But the Bee Gees, they got so popular in the 70s that they were almost nipping at the heels of some records that the Beatles held. I love the Ramones. I love their sound, but I'm going to go Bee Gees, and they will move on to the next round. So Bee Gees advance. Our next matchup is Cheap Trick versus Rush. Cheap Trick versus Rush.
And this one, man, in the 70s, Rush had so many, Fly By Night, 2112, that was just so, different. And that Cheap Trick, also solid. So many good songs. But I believe it was Mike who said, who needs 5 guitars glued into one? So I'm going to have to go with Rush on this just because of talents. And just such an iconic sound to them. You know it's them when you hear them right off the bat. So Rush for me.
All right, Tommy?
I ain't giving a vote for either one. I'm just going to give one to Neil Peart. That guy was incredible.
I'm not going to take anything from either band. I really didn't dig either one of them. I really do not like Rush's music, even though I know they got talent. I know they're full of talent. I mean, it's hard to play what they play and make it sound that way. It's not appeasing to my ears. But so I guess I'm going to have to go. I didn't think I would go this way. I didn't even think I would ever vote for Cheap Trick on anything, but I'm going to go ahead and vote for the 18 million plus guitar and one lead guitarist, Cheap Trick. I want you to want me.
All right, so we
vote for Cheap Trick.
We got 2 votes Rush, 1 vote Cheap Trick. Like I said before, 70s stuff. If it's all time, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's Rush by a mile. But for 70s, I'm actually going to go Cheap Trick because I like Dream Police. I like the Live at Budokan, which I think is one of the greatest live albums anybody's ever done. That will mean that we are at our first tie of this tournament. We got 2 votes Rush, and we got 2 votes for Cheap Trick. So I'm going to go to the tiebreaker sheet. Before the episode started, everybody rated each band on a scale of 1 to 5. And Cheap Trick got a total of 11 points from the panel, while Rush got a total of 17 points. So Rush will advance to the next
and they
round.
damn well
Rush
should.
moves on because of talent.
Yeah.
Both bands have that southern twangy style to them, and we are going with none other than Leonard Skinner versus the Doobie Brothers.
Oh, see, that's not even right. That's
Yeah.
I can't listen to enough Leonard Skinner. But the Doobie Brothers, so good. I mean, the musicians are incredible. I mean, even after Michael McDonald left, I mean, still just kicking ass. I mean, let's face it, Leonard Skinner only went up to the 77 time frame, and then they had their hiatus. But man, just the iconicness of, I mean, you talk about strong albums. I mean, Leonard Skinner, when they released Pronounced Leonard Skinner, that was a great album. And as much as I love the Doobie Brothers and everything, I still listen to Michael McDonald regularly and Doobies, but I'll go Leonard Skinner.
We got a vote for Jacksonville, Florida's own Leonard Skinner. What say you, Tommy?
Oh, Leonard Skinner all the way. Yeah, that's Southern anthems there.
So we got 2 votes for the boys from Jacksonville. Mike, you're up.
Yeah, I guess I'm going with Leonard Skinner also. I like their style. I like their music. I like the guitar riffs, especially Sweet Home Alabama. I know that sounds corny, but I mean, I love that song. You know, I know it's one of their most popular songs, like Simple Man. I like that song. I just love Leonard Skinner, and I think they're a really great band. I'm going with Leonard Skinner.
So Leonard Skinner is advancing. I would lean Doobie Brothers, and I like Leonard Skinner. The reason why I would choose Doobie Brothers over them is I think their rhythm section is way better than Leonard's rhythm section, and I think that the Doobie Brothers music was more versatile. They could go and do many different types of music. They could go just regular guitar rock. They could go Southern rock. They could even go like country if you listen to Blackwater. I mean, I think they're, as a band, their musicianship, they were way more versatile. I would give a slight edge to Doobie Brothers, but Leonard Skinner was hard to beat in that time frame too. So Leonard Skinner will advance, 3 votes. And our next matchup is a state versus a city. It's Kansas versus Chicago. Our next matchup is, the big boys are coming out to play now. It's the Eagles versus Aerosmith.
Man, come on, man. They're the big boys, but the Eagles eclipse Aerosmith by a mile. Now, I love Aerosmith, don't get me wrong. They're iconic as well. And even well after they weren't making music together and they were on their own, it was still just great musicians. And just, but in the 70s, anyway, just Eagles all the way. You can't get any better than Eagles.
All right, so we got a strong vote for the Eagles.
Yeah, Toys in the Attic, great album. But the Eagles wins hands down.
All right, Mike, you're up. Are you going to help Aerosmith out, or are you going to fly out like an eagle?
Shoot, I'm not going to help Aerosmith out any. I like the 1980s Aerosmith fairly well, but the 70s Aerosmith, nah, not so much, I don't guess. I mean, I love the Eagles. You know, Hotel California, that was just like rock and roll orchestra.
And Mike,
I'm going with the Eagles.
Mike, do you remember who introduced you to Hotel California?
You?
Do you remember where it was, what we were doing?
I don't know. I think we were on the football bleachers.
No, we were on the basketball bus traveling to an away game, and I had a Walkman on, and I said, dude, have you ever heard the song Hotel California? This was like 1985, 86. You're like, no. I said, let me change. I said, let me change your world then. And I gave it to you. You're like, oh my God. I remember that.
I think they got about 7 guitars going on at once.
Yes. In that song, there were 7 guitars used in the studio to record that song. So you're talking Don Felder, Joe Walsh, Glenn Fry. I mean, and then ghost musicians everywhere. So great song. I'm also going to Eagles. I like Aerosmith. But little known fact is on their first album, Joe Perry does not play any guitar on Aerosmith's first album. And that album had the song Dream On, which I think is Aerosmith's greatest song they've ever done, even to this day. So what happened in the studio, Bob Ezrin, who was the producer of Pink Floyd, The Wall, and Kiss Destroyer, did not like Joe Perry's playing. And so he brought in Dick Wagner from the Alice Cooper band. And so that whole first Aerosmith album, it's Dick Wagner playing. It is not Joe Perry. I'm also going to the Eagles. They got so many hits, and their music's just timeless. Even though I kind of got burned out on them in high school because every party you went to, you heard Eagles' greatest hits. But they're a great band. So Eagles will move on to the next round. All right, this next matchup is kind of different, but 2 great bands nonetheless. Bon Scott led AC/DC versus Rumors and Fleetwood Mac.
Man. Once again, it's 2 completely different styles that are just so great. I mean, Fleetwood Mac has so many artists. I mean, from Mick Fleetwood, Lindsey Buckingham, Christine McVie, they all is incredible, even when they went on their own. Those did, and AC/DC with Bon Scott, God, that's the original voice. So as much as I love Fleetwood, man, I got to rock with AC/DC on this one because and Bon Scott was, man, when a band will go on stage in front of a bunch of hard rockers and break out the bagpipes and get away with it and rock it, kill it. That tells you something. So I go AC/DC on this.
So Frank's going down the highway to hell. What say you, Tommy?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be on the bus with them. Yeah, AC/DC all the way. Yeah, I mean Fleetwood Mac. I mean that was good date music there. I love Fleetwood Mac, but AC/DC, yeah.
Okay, so we got 2 strong votes for AC/DC. Will Mike flip the vote?
I love AC/DC, and I love Bon Scott. I hate that he passed away. I mean, and I love the 1970s AC/DC. I mean, I really do love them. But I love Stevie Nicks. I wish these 2, Fleetwood Mac and going against AC/DC, that's kind of hard. I'm going to go Fleetwood Mac.
Okay, so Mike's going with England's own Fleetwood Mac. So it's 2-1 AC/DC. Rumors is one. Right.
Was Stevie Nicks with him in the 70s?
Yes.
Dreams.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, they started in the late 60s. And then in the mid-70s, they brought in Lizzy, who said he wouldn't join unless his girlfriend could join. And his girlfriend was Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't remember if she was a part of them, until the early 80s or not. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, the early Fleetwood Mac was very different. They were more of a blues-based band. And
Right.
then when they brought in Lizzy and Stevie, they went more towards popish rock. And that's what they're more famous for. I love Fleetwood Mac. I love Rumors. My favorite Fleetwood Mac song is a song called Sarah. Oh, I love that song. But Bon Scott, man, that guy, he's on a different level, man. He was just an amazing frontman, amazing singer. Not so much to the point where he has a great voice. It's just it's so distinctful and unique that when you hear him say one word, you're like, oh, that's Bon Scott. And I think Even though their biggest album came in the 80s, I still think 70s AC/DC was the best lineup of that group in their history. So I'm going to go AC/DC as well. So they will advance. So our next matchup is Kiss versus the Rolling Stones. And remember, this is 1970s Stones, 1970s Kiss.
Yeah, these are. It is a tough one. I mean, I get it. I am probably going to piss off a lot of people on this one, and you know, as much as I love both bands, I know which way Mike's going on this. I can tell you that.
Oh man,
Mike's having a fit already.
And he's like, vote already, damn it, I want to talk. But you know, Rolling Stones, I respect them greatly, but I just never been that huge of a fan myself. You know, I mean, I like the music. You know, it's not like, but it's not something I went out and saw. You know, but Kiss, on the other hand, that is something I went out and saw. That's I remember my first time seeing them. I remember taking my wife to see them, and I told my wife, like, it was about 10 years ago, like, well, we better stop off and get some earplugs. She's like, what? I'm like, oh, no, seriously, you want some earplugs? You know, she's like, oh, she's giving me a bunch of crap. She's like, oh, if it's too loud, you're too old. Isn't that what they say? All right, fine. We get there, and she's like, holy shit, what is going on? Why didn't we get earplugs? I'm like, I told you needed earplugs. She hurt herself that night for sure. I mean, I think she said her brain was rattling. Yeah, but yeah, Kiss on my vote. I'm sorry to ramble.
No, that's good. All right, Taterbug.
Oh, yeah. Hey, if you think you're going to piss off people, I guess we all going to piss them off because I'm going to Kiss all the way. Rolling Stones, they were all right. You know, I know there's people out there, just like there's Beatles fans out there, that say, oh, it's the greatest thing ever in the world. No.
That would be me.
Kiss all the way.
2 votes for Kiss. I think Mike looks like he's got a little Mick Jagger dance going on there.
Hey, I'm so happy you guys voted Kiss. I'm so happy. You know, Kiss is awesome. All I want to say is when I bought the album Destroyer when I was about 8 years old, when I first heard Beth, I about cried because I didn't understand it. I didn't even know what a rock ballad was at that time. I was like, what's Kiss doing to me? But now I understand Beth when I got, you know, a little bit older. But Kiss to me is the band of the 70s. I mean, they blew up the stage. They did things different than anybody else was doing at the time. They kept on putting money in their stage show. That's what I like about Kiss. They were all about the, you know, putting something out there that wasn't anybody doing at the time. So I'm going with Kiss.
Yeah.
I'm going with Kiss.
Kiss will advance. They got 3 votes. The Rolling Stones, you can argue that their stuff in the 70s was just as good, if not better, than their 60s stuff. Because we got Exile on Main Street, Some Girls, Sticky Fingers. I mean, I love their disco song called Missing You. Oh, that's such a great, great song. Even though they didn't get shit for going disco like in the same way that Kiss did.
That was a little more extreme.
Thank God that was only one album.
One and done, yeah.
So I respect the Stones. They're arguably on the Mount Rushmore of rock and roll. But you're talking 70s, I'm going to go with the 4 guys from New York. So Kiss will advance to the next round over the Stones. And I hear a lot of people out there clicking and turning off their computers now. All right, so here's another good matchup. Led Zeppelin versus Thin Lizzy.
Thin Lizzy's awesome. But there is nothing. When Mike says that Kiss was the 70s, that's what I see Led Zeppelin as. A whole lot of love. God, just the sound coming out of that. It's like Jimmy Page had that electric. It sounded like syrup coming out of it, you know, on Velvet. You know, I don't know if that gives you a visual or something, but this is what I see when I hear the Zeppelin guitar. Though I have to vote Zeppelin on this one because to me they were the sound of the 70s.
So we got to vote for a Hammer of the Gods. Tommy, you're up.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going Zeppelin. Stairway to Heaven. Oh, I mean, just hearing Page and Plant's voice was just I mean, everything in that band fit perfect. Yeah, I'm going Zeppelin.
2 votes for Zeppelin, 0 votes for the boys from Ireland. You're up, Mike.
I'm going with Zeppelin. Yep. Page could play the guitar. I don't like Robert Plant's voice all that well, but I love their music. Robert Plant kind of gets on my nerves, but my fault.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. That Robert Plant.
It does, man. I think if I was in concert, I'd run away.
So, are you saying that Robert Plant's another Mark Slaughter, Mike?
Oh, good Lord.
I could look back in the 70s. They could play for 3 hours if they wanted to. Could you imagine that, being stuck there for 3 hours with Robert Plant?
You just had to get him going, didn't you?
Right. I had to poke the bear. I will say this. I enjoy Robert Plant's voice way more on the album than I do live. I will kind of agree. But on the album, I love his voice. Live, I've heard some concerts where it didn't sound good at all, and I heard some concerts where it sounded great. So he's kind of hit and miss with me live. But on the record, yeah, I mean, he's right on time. But it's going to be a sweep. Zeppelin's going to advance. I love Thin Lizzy. I love Phil Lynott. I love Emerald, Cowboy Song, Boys Are Back in Time, Whiskey in a Jar. I mean, Thin Lizzy's got some great Jailbreak. They got some great, great songs. And one of the most underrated bands from the 70s. You don't hear a lot of people giving them a lot of love. And if you just sit down and listen to them, you're like, holy shit, these guys are good, man. So I'll give some love to Thin Lizzy, but Zeppelin will move on. It's the Who versus the Steve Miller Band.
The Who and Steve Miller. Well, the Who is great. Steve Miller's great. Steve Miller's from Texas, though. So that gives him a little edge.
Oh.
The Who, to me, was like the Rolling Stones. Great band, but one that I never sought out. Steve Miller, they had some questionable songs, like, was it Swing Town or, God, I just didn't like those songs. But they also knocked out of the park on many others. So I'm going to go Steve Miller, the boys from Texas.
Okay, so Steve Miller gets a vote. Tommy, you're up.
Steve Miller is going to get 2 votes, just like I told you. I never liked the Who. I never dabbled in acid, so I never got them.
Dang.
All right, 2 votes for the Steve Miller Band. Mike, you're up. So Tommy does not vote, Tommy.
No, Tommy does not vote Tommy.
They're actually tied, in my opinion. God, it's a toss-up, really. I'm going to go with the Who.
Okay, so Mike's going with the Who. I love the Steve Miller Band. I had the Steve Miller Band's greatest hits with the little blue Mustang horse on the cover. I mean, I wore that thing out because every song on there was pretty much a 10. There was a couple, like Frank said, that were kind of iffy, but it's a really strong album. The Who, I love the 60s Who. I love the 70s Who. We got Tommy. We got Who's Next. I mean, we got Eminence Front, Won't Get Fooled Again. Their drumming, I really love Keith Moon. And then when he left, the new drummer was good too. I'm not that big of a fan of Pete Townsend. I mean, I think he's pretty good, but I think he's more showman than actual substance. I do like Roger Daltrey. I like how he sings. He's a good singer. John Entwistle, I think, is the bass player for The Who. He is really, really talented. I'm going to go The Who. So it's 2 votes for the Who, 2 votes for Steve Miller. So we're going to have to go to the tiebreaker here to see who advances.
Steve Miller gonna win because of mine.
Steve Miller got a total of 12 out of 20 votes. The Who got a total of 11 out of 20 votes.
Hey,
So Steve
that's
Miller
because of me.
will advance.
But you treated the Who bad.
Yeah. Oh, I give him a 1.
You said the Who.
He gave the Who a 1.
He was like, who are they?
Oh, I couldn't. They were so irritating to me.
Okay, our next matchup is Deep Purple versus Boston. It's Queen versus Heart.
Queen versus Heart, the 70s version of each. Well, Queen, of course, you know all about them, and when you have you know so many movies and documentaries made about them, this is up and down. But the sound of Heart, New Magic Man, Crazy on You, incredible music. I mean, the vocals. How's it their first album? I'm gonna have to go Heart. Man, I know. Hope you don't have anybody from England listening, but they're gonna be really pissed. Sorry. I hope I don't lose any subscribers over that, but I have to go Heart.
I'm gonna tell you what, Dog and Butterfly was a great album, and Little Queen was a really good album. You know, I tell you what, they got one of the most catchy songs, Barracuda. That song just reaches out and grabs you. But I mean, if we're going them and Queen, I got to go Queen.
I concur with Tommy. I'm going with Queen.
2 votes for Queen, 1 vote for Heart. I love Dreamboat Annie. I love Dog and Butterfly. I love Magic Man. The lead guitarist for Heart at the time, his name was Roger. Can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but he was a super, super good guitarist. And the Wilson sisters were talented, but man, it's hard to beat Queen. So I'm gonna go Queen, and Queen will advance to the next round. Our next matchup is ELO, Electric Light Orchestra versus Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Two incredible bands as well. I mean, the musicianship on both of them, because the musical background from ELO, I mean, the whole orchestral rock thing is just great. And there was like 75 people in Earth, Wind, and Fire. Seemingly. I think whenever I hear Earth, Wind, and Fire, it's September or something, you got to crank that. I'm going to have to go Earth, Wind, and Fire. And once again, it's just nothing against ELO at all. But Earth, Wind, and Fire is, man, makes you get up and move.
Got to vote for Philip Bailey and Earth, Wind, and Fire. Tommy, you're up.
Yeah. ELO, yeah, they had some really good songs. Don't Bring Me Down. I mean, those are great songs. But Earth, Wind, and Fire had September and Let's Groove.
Yeah.
Shoot. Yeah. Now I'm going to go Earth, Wind, and Fire.
2 votes for Earth, Wind, and Fire. Mike, you're up.
Before I vote, let me ask you one question, Chris. How many members did Earth, Wind, and Fire have?
And their band?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's got to be somewhere in the 20s, I think.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. I watched a video of them, an old school video of them. I was like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, did they ever go broke for paying everybody?
Yeah, I was going to say they had to be broke as much stipends they had to dish out.
I'm going Earth, Wind, and Fire just because they was riding with a big posse.
I think
Posse up.
I think currently there's 9 members, not including the horn section.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've always loved
Guess
Earth,
there
Wind, and
was
Fire.
some extras on stage, but I wasn't
Philip
a big
Bailey.
fan.
Philip Bailey did a song with Phil Collins in the 80s called Easy Lover. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh,
She's an easy lover.
Try to forget it. Yeah.
Having said that, ELO is one of my favorite bands of all time. They have so many hits. I think I counted one day just in the United States, they had like 14 top 40 hits. I mean, like an insane number of hits, and they're so underrated. People never give them love, and they're so good. Jeff Lynne is a great songwriter, and now he's mainly produces albums. He produced a lot of Tom Petty albums. Of course, he was one of the members in the Traveling Wilburys, which was a great band. I'm going to go ELO by a landslide, and that's saying something because I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. But Earth, Wind, and Fire is advancing to the next round. Our next matchup is Pink Floyd versus Bad Company.
I'm kind of what you said about Steve Miller when you said that, or no, I think it's the Eagles, when you said that you'd listened to him so much that you kind of got just like, oh God, them again. That's where I'm at with Pink Floyd because some of the classic rock stations, it's this constant Pink Floyd, and I love the Pink Floyd. You get the lyrics that just make you think and reconsider things, and it's like wow, you can catch different meanings years later. And Bad Company, well, it's rock, especially in the 70s. So I'm gonna have to go Bad Company.
Yeah, Bad Company has some really good songs. I really like Bad Company, but they didn't have Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall, so Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. All right, Mike.
I gotta go Pink Floyd. I mean, I love Bad Company. I mean, they're a good band. They rock. I mean, they really do rock. But Pink Floyd, they just got a distinctive sound that no one else had back then. They kind of got like an ambient sound plus rock put together. So, almost kind of sounds sort of spacey to me, like futuristic music.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going Pink Floyd?
Yes.
All right, so we got 2 votes, Pink Floyd. There's a story I heard one time that when Paul McCartney and the Beatles were in Abbey Road Studio recording an album, I can't remember if it was the White Album or Let It Be, or anyway, they took a break, and Paul Stanley, he wished. Paul McCartney, he's going to love me for confusing him with Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney was going outside to take a cigarette break, and he heard some noise coming from another studio. So according to him, he stopped in to listen to it and check it out, and then found out there was this band called Pink Floyd that he had never heard of. But he said that after sitting in that session for like half an hour, he walked out and told John Lennon, I just heard the future of music. So
that's neat.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful statement right there. Dark Side of the Moon, I mean, arguably the greatest album ever. If you take classes in college how to become a record producer, a record engineer, that's one of the albums that you're going to have to study because it's just on that kind of level from 1972. And I think Alan Parsons had a part in producing that album, if I'm not mistaken. Animals, Wish You Were Here. I mean, I like Bad Company. Don't get me wrong, but damn. I'm going to go Pink Floyd, and they'll advance to the next round. So our last matchup of the first round is Steely Dan versus Black Sabbath.
Well, being so similar and so hard to tell one from the next. As we were talking about before, when you were talking about how it has so much jazz involved with Steely Dan, and yeah, it is very. And I love Steely Dan. I listen to a lot of it now. My kicking back, listening to music, I just want to relax. Black Sabbath brought that sound to everyone, and it forever changed everything. I mean, you don't have to play one note, say from the beginning of Iron Man, and you get that the downward tone, and that's what the song is. So many that Black Sabbath have, so many songs, and I mean, even with the different singers, I have to go Black Sabbath. Steely Dan, great. Black Sabbath, iconic.
All right, so we got a vote for Tony Iommi and the boys, Black Sabbath.
Yeah. Steely Dan, the jazzy reggae, not really sure what we're gonna play next time band. I think I'm gonna go with Iron Man.
He's going Iron Man and Black Sabbath. 2 votes for Black Sabbath. Mike, you're up.
Well, really, I never did listen to Steely Dan much.
Peg, Do It Again.
Nah. No, I guess I got to go with Black Sabbath because at least I know Ozzy.
Yeah. So we got 3 votes for Black Sabbath. They'll be moving on. I'm a huge Steely Dan fan. And Tommy said something about them being jazz. And then Tommy said, well, at least you know what you're going to get from Black Sabbath. And that's kind of one of the reasons I love Steely Dan, because you never knew what the hell they were going to do. Never knew what they were going to do. And they always was trying to change and reinvent themselves, kind of like on the same stage as Bowie and Prince. If you listen to Bowie and Prince, no 2 albums ever sound the same. And Steely Dan's kind of in that same ballpark. I mean, if we're talking musicianship, it's not even close. They'll wipe the floor with Black Sabbath. That won't even be a contest. Donald Fagen, although not a great voice, kind of like Bon Scott, very unique, very distinctive. When you hear it, you're like, oh, that's Steely Dan. And their guitar player, Denny Diaz, his solo in the song Do It Again is one of the most chaotic solos I've ever heard in my life, because it just seems like he's going all over the map. Like, where the hell is he going next? And why did he choose that note? And what kind of shit is he doing now? And it just seems like it's everywhere, but somehow in the end, he manages to tie it together to make sense. But as you're listening to it, you're like, holy shit, what's he doing? And then at the end, you're like, oh my God, that was amazing. It's very similar to the guitar solo of the band Living Colour in the 80s with the song Cult of Personality. When you hear that solo, it's just like he's going everywhere. And then at the end, he ties it in, and you're like, oh my God, that was a great solo. It's very similar, those solos. But I'm going to go Black Sabbath just because of their impact. They were the godfathers of heavy metal. They started a revolution, you could say, and they will advance to the next round. So that completes the first round. So now we're down to 16 bands left. All right, here we go. Second round.
Getting a little slow.
Okay, so we're in round 2. There's 16 teams left. Our first matchup is the Commodores versus Styx.
All
right, our next matchup is Canada's own Rush versus the Bee Gees. 70's Bee Gees versus 70's Rush.
All right, I did a little quick counting. From 78 and 79, Bee Gees won 5 Grammys and 2 American Music Awards. That's pretty impressive. They obviously they did the complete soundtrack for Saturday Night Fever. That whole Staying Alive thing was just, well known. I mean, you go to any country, you go to Canada, you're going to know Rush. And let's face it, Canadians, God bless them, they're Canadians. But so despite the 21-12, everything else, I'm gonna have to go Bee Gees on this. I didn't vote for them for the first time, but this time I'm going Bee Gees.
I'm gonna go Rush. Yeah. If I sit here and keep thinking about it, I might change my answer, but no, I think I'm gonna go Rush just because of Perk.
So we got another vote for Neil. It's 1-1. Mike, you're up.
No, I'm going Bee Gees because their music was just that popular type of upbeat. You know, they had a drive to their music. It might have been disco, you know, but it was good disco. Bee Gees.
So 2 votes Bee Gees, 1 vote Rush.
Uh,
So I'm gonna go with the Bee Gees, even though they did that horrible movie. So the Bee Gees will advance against Rush. Our next matchup is Leonard Skinner versus Chicago.
That's one of the very different bands. The Horns of Chicago, most guitars here, just maybe they are. The lyrics of the songs, yeah. The first album was just made a simple band.
Next matchup is the Eagles versus AC/DC.
Again, not fair. And like Mike said, you can't vote against one of these. You wish, just abstain because I can't do it, but they have to vote for one. Man, as far as the better band and who I could listen to just about every song, I have to go Eagles.
well, I remember having a lot of them older AC/DC albums from the 70s, and there was just great music with Bon Scott, and without. There was a few songs on there, that you just fast forward through, like Kiss. But I don't think I've ever fast forwarded through an Eagles album through any song. I mean, every one of their songs are just fantastic. So I'm gonna go Eagles.
It's hard. It's very hard this time. But I'm going to go with Bon Scott and AC/DC.
So we got
AC/DC.
vote for AC/DC, 2 votes for the Eagles. This is really tough. Musicianship, you'd have to go for the Eagles. Songwriting ability, you go for the Eagles. But there's something to be said about songs that just crack your ribs when you hear them and punch you in the gut and make you get up and just want to lift weights or go run or get in the ring with somebody. And as good as the Eagles are, that none of their music ever made me want to do that. I'm actually going to go with AC/DC and Bon Scott. And so, therefore, we have a tie, 2 votes for the Eagles, 2 votes for AC/DC. So we're going to go back to our sheet of paper here.
Well, they're probably tied there.
Yeah.
So
what are you going to do, flip a coin?
So the Eagles got 18.5 votes out of 20. AC/DC got 18 out of 20. So the Eagles will advance by half
That's my
point.
Wow.
That's my 0.5.
Good job, Mike.
I'm sorry, AC/DC.
Don't tell on yourself, Mike. Kiss versus Led Zeppelin. 70s Kiss versus 70s Led Zeppelin.
You've made good arguments with the Destroyer album. Man, I cannot see how Kiss is better than Zeppelin. I know Mike just despises the Void. And
there goes your $15.
Damn it, I knew it. I was counting on that for a mortgage too, damn it. Let's see, Whole Lotta Love, Rock and Roll, Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven, When the Levee Breaks, Live and Levin made so many good songs, and just also very powerful songs. You just close your eyes and you hear these songs, and you just hopefully not driving, but just rocking out. Kiss, of course, rocking out just as much, but as far as the tiebreaker on those two is so close, but I have to go Led Zeppelin.
You know I'm going to vote for Kiss.
Man, this is it is extremely hard because I was a lifelong Kiss fan. I mean, I still am. But I just don't see how you could give it to Kiss over Zeppelin. I mean, you know, that music was just. Well, I mean, it you know, you felt it, you know. Yeah, so before I change my mind, I'm gonna go Zeppelin.
Oh my gosh.
2 votes for Zeppelin. 1 vote for Kiss.
Coach Kelly.
Coach Kelly would be proud of Tommy right now. There's no doubt about that.
So we gonna throw it on Chris and make him make that decision.
I mean, if the question is who do I like more, is Kiss. Who's the better band? Now that's different.
Well, see, that's where I was. Yeah.
I always say that John Bonham is the greatest drummer within the framework of a band I've ever heard. And what I mean by this is I don't think he's the most talented drummer I ever heard. But within the framework of a band, I've never heard a drummer sound so good with other musicians. If you want to take points away from Zeppelin for ripping off other artists and trying to claim that those songs were theirs when they really stole them from other people, you can deduct Zeppelin because they did steal a lot and try to pawn it off as their own. But having said that, the songs that they stole, they did Zeppelinize those songs because those songs sound way different with Zeppelin doing them as they did with the original artists. So they definitely put their thumbprint on those songs. I can't, Mike. I got to go Zeppelin, man. I got to go Zeppelin. It hurts my heart, Mike. It hurts my heart because I love Kiss more than I love Zeppelin. But as far as a band and their catalog of music, I got to go Zeppelin, man. So Zeppelin's going to advance to the next round.
Steely versus Boston. Steely Boston. Yeah. I think I'm going to go Boston. I didn't go Boston first round. Get Pearl, but Boston, I think the band. Like I did get so well. That way, number 2, we want to hear when you don't want to such a quality, but you can't yourself.
We got the Commodores versus the Bee Gees.
Yeah, Commodores Bee Gees. And it's just like listen to Commodores more myself. I know Commodores Bee Gees. And it's just a friends. I got more from there. I got Commodores.
This one is going to be the Commodores versus the Eagles.
My ride with the Commodores is going to sail on.
I like that.
We must go Eagles. Just once again, it's another just different league altogether. Eagles, no question about it for me.
All right, vote for Don Felder and the boys, or Timothy B. Schmidt. Tommy?
Oh yeah, I love the Commodores. But yeah, I can't go against the Eagles. Yeah, Eagles.
All right, 2 for the Eagles. Mike?
Well, when I listen to Easy Like Sunday Morning, Lionel Richie sometimes sounds like Kenny Rogers.
Yeah. Well, he actually wrote a few songs for Kenny Rogers. He wrote the song Lady.
I was like, man, him and Kenny sound like they could probably trade songs one day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of want to vote just like again for both because I think the Commodores are great in their way. Damn. The Eagles, I got to vote for the Eagles. So I'm going with the Eagles.
So the Eagles are going to advance no matter my decision. I'm also voting the Eagles. Tough matchup, but I give the Eagles the edge in that. So the Eagles make it to the championship game. And who will they face? Will it be Led Zeppelin or will it be Queen? So, Frank, you're up first.
We got I love the way Tommy said it earlier. The Queen's got a lot of great songs. They got a lot of weird ones, too. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, some songs coming out, it's like, what the hell was that? Just odd. And, you you're a good band, you got to experiment, you got to push it a little, and I appreciate that out of them because they brought us a lot of good songs like Bohemian Rhapsody. That's a weird ass song, but it rocked. But man, Led Zeppelin, man, we're talking about Zeppelin here, and as much as Mike doesn't like the voice, man, I find that voice just a rock. And Jimmy Page guitar, man. Yeah, that's the one. You can feel the guitar all the way inside you, and I don't get that from Queen. You feel the lyrics just in you, which I don't get from Queen, and not knocking any of the talent from Freddie Mercury, but God, I got to go Zeppelin on this one. It's just it's such a good band.
All right, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Zeppelin. That the music is just so, it was so different from anything you heard at that time. I mean, they could just, I remember riding in the car, and if you had a good set of speakers in the back, you could the music would flip back and forth, you know, from both the wave of the music and stuff. I remember that. Yeah, I just think, I mean, Queen had great music. I mean, like you said, Bohemian Rhapsody, and they had a lot of weird songs too. But yeah, I'm gonna go Zeppelin.
2 for Zeppelin. You're up, Mike.
I'm going to go Queen. I'm sticking with Queen. I like their music.
Sticking with the Fat Bottom Girls.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Fat Bottom Girls. That sounded good to me.
So we got 1 vote for Queen, 2 for Zeppelin. It's really tough. If I break it down individually, I got to go Freddie over Robert Plant. I got to go Bonham over Roger Taylor, even though Roger Taylor's a really good drummer. I think Jimmy Page and Brian May, that's a push. They're both incredible guitars. I think Page is actually a better rhythm player, but I think May's a better soloist. Their bass players, John Paul Jones and Deacon. Was it John Deacon for Queen? 2 great bass players. Queen wrote my favorite song of all time, Bohemian Rhapsody. I think Zeppelin's got more in the catalog. I think they got more songs than Queen. But I do like the way Queen would push the envelope and wouldn't just settle on one kind of music. They were the first, I don't know if you guys ever heard this, they were the first white band ever to have a #1 hit on the R&B chart with Another One Bites the Dust. So very versatile band. They were all over the map. I think just for the depth of catalog, I'm going Zeppelin. But I actually think Queen might be a more talented band.
According to Mike, they got a lot better singer.
Yeah. Mike's not a Robert Plant fan.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. The national championship, the 1970s greatest band championship. In one corner, we have the Eagles. In the other corner, we have Led Zeppelin.
All right. We got, God, this is that difficult one. Like we have the Eagles and AC/DC, and this is difficult because I love both of these bands so much. They or what I grew up on, which I'm sure y'all too. Eagles, Zeppelin. If I have to go Zeppelin, just for that sound. Eagles had a really polished sound. Zeppelin was not polished, and it was so raw. Just like I said, that the distortion from Page's guitar. You know, like you listen to the Whole Lot of Love or Black Dog. It's just God, you just rocks. So Zeppelin for me.
All right.
Better work.
Got to vote for Zeppelin, Tommy?
I'm gonna go Eagles and let that be between you and Mike.
All right, Tommy. Good choice. Good choice, Tommy.
So Tommy's going Eagles.
Somebody's going to hurt someone tonight. I'm going with the Eagles.
Is there going to be a heartache tonight, Mike?
Yes, sir. The Eagles it is. Come on, Chris.
It was actually a lot tougher choice with Queen because I prefer Queen over the Eagles. I'm going Zeppelin pretty easy here. So it's 2-2. So now we have to go to our tiebreaker sheet here.
You didn't give that sheet to Coach Kelly, did you?
I might have. Mike, you remember Coach Kelly in class? He'd make a point or try to be funny, and he'd go. I remember after we did our talent show, Mike dressed up like Gene Simmons, Frank, and spit blood on the stage. and Coach Kelly hated Kiss with a passion, right? And the next day in class, he was like dogging Mike. He goes, "Mike Watts, that was utterly disgusting."
Cool.
And then you made fun of Fleetwood Mac because he liked Fleetwood Mac. So
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We got the Eagles versus Led Zeppelin. The Eagles have 5, 10, 14, 19.5.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing here. No, hold up. 5, 10, 14, 18.5. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Eagles
damn.
have 18.5. And Zeppelin has 18. So
Good
the Eagles win by
with the
a half a point.
Coach Kelly.
Are going to win the battle of the 1970s bands. So
Good deal.
congratulations.
That's a solid win, man. That's a good band. That's a good band. I mean, I'm gonna go listen to some Zeppelin now.